All right. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for the transition time. We are now going to do the new release rundown. We're joined by Dee from Mox Boarding House again.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course, absolutely.
Do you want to talk about Mox Boarding House at all?
Sure. Mox Boarding House is a game parlor. We currently have 2 locations, one in Ballard in Seattle, Washington, and one in Bellevue, Washington. Looking forward to opening our 3rd location, hopefully this winter, in Portland, Oregon, which will be our first out-of-state store. But we are one of the first cafe models for board game stores. So in our Ballard location, we have a small cafe with bar, rotating tap, where you can enter in and out of the store, sit down, borrow any kind of games and play.
Yep, big game library.
Big game library, over 500 games in both libraries. And Bellevue has full restaurant, huge tournament hall, over 128 people in there. So it's a pretty fantastic location to be able to play games.
Great. So you brought some of the games that you have, some of the stuff that's come out the past week, and I think you actually brought a couple older games that got re-releases or have something coming out too. So what do you want to start with?
I wanted to start today, actually that is a good question, probably Sushi Roll. This one I'm super excited about. It actually came out in May. It is not the newest of the things on the table, but this is a fun one by Gamewright. Gamewright puts out a ton of good family and whole community.
Open?
That one is not open.
Okay.
I wish I could show you some of the components.
There's a couple of ones that don't have shrink wrap that are confusing.
I know, right?
It's
the ones they come sealed with those little stickers. They just really want you to open it up, start playing immediately. But Sushi Roll's awesome. I don't know if I would assume you are familiar with Sushi Go by Gamewright. Very fun card drafting game, very
Super
simple.
Adorable.
It is very adorable. Everyone loves sushi themes. Everyone loves their little rolls, their maki, their, the little edamames. Super fun to collect. In the original game, Sushi Go, you are drafting cards one at a time and collecting different sets of sushi to earn point multipliers depending on the type of sushi.
So so Sushi Go is a drafting game. You're always taking that one card,
correct,
passing the rest on.
Yep.
It's a lot like 7 Wonders and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
very
adorable.
much like an adorable 5-minute version of 7 Wonders. Can't get through that one in 5 minutes. But Sushi Roll takes that and adds the dice drafting concept.
Okay.
So in this one, you're going to be rolling one at a time, going around and grabbing the little dice to fill out your sheet and get those modifiers.
Okay.
This one has a couple of different things about it that change it. Obviously, the big fun die are super fun, but it actually has more player interaction.
So big fun dice, are these larger than normal size dice?
They are a little bit larger than normal size die, so they're going to be the kind of fun to hold.
Sure.
Always good to throw giant chunky die around. But
I feel like Javion should be here in spirit. Like, he should just rise up from behind the table and just be like, dice!
Dice! Oh, Javion's excitement for dice fuels me a little bit for anything fun and shiny. But this one's really fun. Adds that little bit of player interaction. You all have tokens that give you some kind of small hidden power, whether it be switching your dice with someone else on the board or turning your die over to be able to get a different result.
Can you turn over someone else's die?
That one I'm not sure about. We would have to look into it.
Oh yeah, so that reminds me, because we have a very special scale on this show of the spite meter. Where in the spite meter would this game lie?
From everything I've done the one playthrough, but I played with the most kind. You can't play games with Mox employees. They're just going to be nice. They're all nice. So we were all very kind to each other, but I think that you could add a little bit of spite in
mild
here.
Spite.
Mild spite,
Okay.
mild hate drafting. You could easily play
Sushi Roll,
tokens
the mild
too.
hate draft game.
The mild hate drafting game. Very similar to its predecessor, Sushi Go. Also a mild hate drafting game. But spite meter, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's still going to be around that mid-range, like maybe 5 or 6. This one, it's so quick play that you're not worried as much about the other players, other than looking around and saying, "Oh, I might want to throw a token down."
But the big difference, it looks like, for this draft is that instead of the Sushi Go hand, where you don't know what's out there, this one, it's a full, like, almost Rochester-y draft kind of thing.
Public information. You get to see everything that everyone could be drawing from at any point, just like similar, other dice drafting games or roll and writes where everything is out there and you all have to look at what's there, knowing full well it may not be there on your turn.
So you said fill out the sheet, and I kind of turned it around so people could see because I realized it wasn't on the front. Is there any kind of like roll and write aspect to this?
Not necessarily
record on that
roll
sheet,
and
or is
write.
it just a reference sheet?
It's more like a player board or a tableau,
Okay.
where you'll be taking the die and placing them on the corresponding picture of that sushi roll. And then it will have the amount of number of points that you'd collect based off of how many of those small areas you've filled up. So it's very easy to read, very simple in terms of just having shapes and a single number underneath each, so it's very accessible. And even the colors are really good for any kind of,
colorblind?
Yeah, color blindness.
Cool. So if you like dice games, if you like chonky dice games, and if you like adorable sentient food items, then Sushi Roll.
Yes. Sentient food items is probably the top of that list for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, any kind of drafting game, if you were a fan of the original Sushi Go, you will definitely like this one because it does add enough to really change it around and make it a brand new fun game.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of the same style, but a completely different game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, that is Sushi Roll. What else would you like us to look at?
After Sushi Roll, I was thinking that we could actually pop over into the Harry Potter 2-player deck builder. So this has a
Harry
long
Potter
title.
Hogwarts Battle is Defense Against the Dark Arts, a 2-player cooperative or a 2-player competitive deck building game.
It is a mouthful, yes. It is.
TM.
And it had a name change from the Harry Potter dueling game to then Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle Defense Against the Dark Arts, a 2-player competitive deck building game.
It's the table.
This is the table. So as it sounds, it is a duel. If anyone had played the original Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle deck building game, this one played 2 to 4 people. If you had the expansion, you could play more. This one is just going to be that duel, similar to, was it the second movie where Draco and Harry actually got to duel it out? They're standing on the tables, pushing each other back. This is pretty much that scene played out.
Important question
into a
though.
Game.
Which house?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, please. Hufflepuff.
Oh, well, good.
I have an excellent finder.
Because we're going to have a Hufflepuff Slytherin throwdown.
One of my favorite aspects of this game, actually, if it was 2 Slytherins, 2 Hufflepuffs at the table, the cards are actually double-sided.
Oh, okay.
They give you the opportunity for both of you to be able to play as the same house and still be able to play.
Okay.
Playing as different houses does also give you extra abilities throughout the game. Not necessarily in terms of extra actions.
We'll put the nice houses out.
Yeah,
How about that?
Everybody,
there we go. See,
important
all the good
ones.
houses are out now.
Yeah, perfect. This is everything, right?
Yeah, I have no idea if chat can see that we have excluded Griffin Bros.
Well, we got to put the Gryffindors out.
See, that's why you're the Hufflepuff.
Now that we've gently made fun of them. Dang it, you caught me. I always say I'm obviously a Hufflepuff because I am an extremely good finder. You have to be an extremely good finder if you are extremely good at losing things.
Oh, okay.
And that is me.
All right.
So this guy, if you've played the Hogwarts Battle original deck builder, you're going to have a pretty good idea of how it's going. However, this is not cooperative. Oh yes, at the beginning of the game, you will choose your house. You will choose who your familiar is, cat, owl, rat, or
Toad.
Or Toad, the little toad. Does the rat have 3 toes? That's what I want to know. Is it indeed Peter Pettigrew?
The rat might be in a different deck. All right, we'll discover the truth.
But it's simple deck builder. You start with starting cards. I even separated them so you can see the little starter cards. Everything will be labeled at the bottom, so it's really easy to go back in and set up at the beginning of the game.
Starter.
You have different types of cards, whether they're spells, items, allies, different types of ways to be able to push your opponent back. It has tons of tokens to be able to mark these things: action, attack, health, and influence tokens. The rules even say these are unnecessary. They're more for fun.
Sure.
Or for visual markings if you are somebody who would prefer to be able to have that visual marker of, oh, I might need to heal this round. The nice thing about this is because you have the aspect to use potions to heal and also attack your enemy, there's going to be a lot of bounce back. You have to do quite a bit of damage to be able to actually knock somebody out.
Are you supposed to stick this card in here?
There's actually
there's
small
little
standees that represent each house. So there are 2 of each.
Okay.
Just in case. You want to find the Slytherin?
Yeah, let's do the Slytherin Hufflepuff
You're
because
the
then we can put
Slytherin,
them
so I
on
have to pull yours out first because I don't want to know what happens to me if I don't. So we would each get our little standees, place them out right in the middle, and then be using our deck.
I'm glad you trusted me to put this in here properly.
I trust you. Is that my first mistake?
Yep.
So we would start with our starter cards. The starter cards would either let us gain what's called influence, these fun little, again, tokens, little necessary tokens. These I can then spend to be able to buy more cards that will let me heal or do damage or gather an ally to be able to prevent other things from happening. Some of the cards, as you're drawing them and putting them into your deck, you'll notice have house benefits. Those are the ones that, if you're pulling them out, they may be here. I know where I put things. Depending on the color of the border, and it will have all of the different little house symbols on it, you'll get an extra benefit for being a part of that house. So I'm a Hufflepuff. If I were to cast Defendo at you, I would not only be able to banish a card from my hand or the discard pile, I would also gain an extra influence and an extra health just because I'm a Hufflepuff.
Okay.
Just because I am objectively better than you.
I mean, that sounds like a very un-Hufflepuff thing to say. You want to reconsider your alliance, perhaps?
I'll leave that on the table. No, but there are always going to be fun little benefits. You as a Slytherin, yours are going to be a little bit more Slytherin-like. Mine give me extra benefits. Yours are going to kind of attack me. You would get the added benefit.
It is worth noting that's how you actually win.
It's attacking. Oh, it is. But mine gives me influence and health. I would be able to withstand that attack.
You think?
Maybe we should play.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we're issuing a challenge here.
Yeah.
So, because I played the cooperative version of this,
yes.
And so the mechanics are the same. That's interesting. I think I've seen a deck builder that has kind of been expressed in different ways like that. So I'm really curious to see how it plays out, because it was a pretty, we played through I think just the first year, which was like the super very, very basic, like this is how deck builders work.
Yes.
So I didn't get to see how it got when it got complicated down the way.
Yeah.
And I imagine that this is starting closer to the end.
This one starts a little bit closer to that end game kind of feel. However, you do have 3 different rounds. You'll notice that there are actually little metal skull tokens. I don't know where those ones are floating about.
Probably in there.
They are in here. You'll notice on each of the house cards, there's 3 little slots at the top left corner of the card where you can put skulls. Your objective is to knock your opponent out 3 times. So if you've been knocked out, you put a little skull down, you shuffle your decks, and restart for the second round.
So it's basically first to 3.
First to 3 knockouts wins. The fun part about this is it will compound on itself, getting harder like it would in the original game in the form of casting hexes on each other. Hexes are cards that you would cast that go into the other person's deck that they then have to deal with before being able to progress onto the next area or make an attack on you.
Okay.
Those stay in your deck after the round and get shuffled back into your draw pile. So you're still dealing with those hexes from round 1, even if you're in round 3, 4, maybe 5.
So how do the mechanics of this, just on a very high level, compare to other archetypal deck builders, like Ascension, Dominion, things like that?
I would not necessarily compare this as much to Ascension and Dominion as more a Harry Potter themed Star Realms or Hero Realms.
Got it.
Where it is just that kind of back and forth, smack each other in the face deck builder.
Okay, all right. So I feel what you're saying is on the spite meter, real high.
Oh, real high. Yeah,
okay.
You can spend, all of your influence getting those hex cards, just making the other player's life miserable while you are gathering those health potions, waiting, taking your time to be able to attack them, knowing full well that's going to mess them up, rounds later, not just.
I feel like you're talking to me directly as the Slytherin.
I am. Okay. I'm giving you hints I shouldn't be if we're going to actually play against each other.
Well, you are the Hufflepuff.
I am.
Would you like to tell me any other ways I'm supposed to defeat you?
Pastries and kittens, if that's what we're.
Well, I mean, everybody likes
by
pastries and
kittens.
So obviously, Harry Potter fans should check this out.
Yes.
People who liked the cooperative game but maybe want more competitive spite in it.
People who like Star Realms, Hero Realms, any kind of competitive deck builder would really like this.
Great.
Even if you are starting with things like Dominion, Ascension, Legendary, but you want more of that one-on-one battle type.
Like direct player
direct
interaction.
Player interaction, dueling game, then Harry Potter would be a fun one for you.
Great. All right, what do you want to talk about next?
I wanted to move on from that. I mean, let's stick with our IPs. Disney Villainous.
So this is not the base game.
This is not the base game. However, this is one of my favorite Mox terms. I hope we can coin this at some point if someone already hasn't. It's an expand-alone. It's a standalone expansion. I think that was pretty obvious.
Yep. I have heard the term before.
Okay, well, I thought we were clever.
You are still very clever.
Thank you, Derek. Disney Villainous plays exactly like the original game. If you're unfamiliar with Disney Villainous, it is a action selection game where you are playing as a Disney villain.
A wildly asymmetrical one.
Wildly asymmetrical. You each have your own individual decks, your individual action boards, and your individual endgame trigger, or what your goal is. So it's going to be completely different. If I am Maleficent, my goal is to cast 3 curses on somebody else and have them all be active at the same time to be able to win and end the game. If I am Ursula, my objective is to, I believe, gather the trident and
the voice, I think.
And
probably.
I think the voice or Prince Eric, and be on a specific location on the action selection board. So everyone has vastly different goals and ways to get through them, as well as having, my favorite, that take that aspect of it, a deck of cards, or a deck for your specific character that is solely just mess you up, ruin your day, what are called fate cards, where players can choose an action on their board to pick a player, take 2 of their fate cards, choose the one they think is worse, and play it on that person, so they then again have to deal with that resolution before they're able to continue on with their turn. So it is very much that, you know, when this game came out, when the original came out, we were super impressed with it. It was very fun to play. We loved that everyone had their own different goals. So when the expansion came out, it was super exciting to see, oh, not only is it going to expand on that base game, it is a standalone. You don't have to buy that base game. You know, if you're just a fan of Hades, Facilier and the Evil Queen, you don't need to go and get Prince John and Ursula and everybody else. You can just start with this.
Well, it was kind of funny too, because we were just talking on the show previous about the new expansion to Villainous that was just announced, and we were trying to guess who the villains, I was about to say heroes, who the villains were.
It's all perspective.
Yeah, and we were. Well, I mean, that's why I'm in the Slytherin house. We were trying to figure. We were thinking of some of these. We hadn't realized they were in this release, and I'm kind of amazed the Evil Queen is in this one and not in the base one.
Right. I think there was a lot of surprise that the Evil Queen was not in the base one. So I think it was pretty obvious, and I'm not sure if they did it with the newest expansion, but with this one, it was a vote online.
Okay.
When you opened your base game of Villainous, it had a small thing saying, oh, who would you like to see in the expansion? Go to this website and you can vote. So everybody was putting in who they would have liked to see. So this is almost a fan service type of
That's
expansion.
really interesting, because I would not have expected those villains to win, to be honest. They would not have been my first guesses.
Hades was definitely, I'm not surprised by that.
Sure.
Everybody loves Hades.
I'm like, we have to do it again. I have not seen 2 out of 3 of these movies. Yeah, see?
My heart hurts.
Yeah.
I think I've watched both of them within the last 6 months, and I'm not even one of those, Disney fanatics.
One
of those Disney fanatics.
You're
I've
a
never
Hufflepuff.
been to the lands
You're
or worlds.
We've established this.
And yes, the puffiest of Huffles. I think everything cute is great, obviously.
I support cute too. I just haven't seen those movies. But yeah, so the new expansion is coming out. Do you know if the new expansion is also going to be an expand-alone?
I don't believe they've announced whether or not it's going to be an expand-alone. I would hope that it would be.
Well, with the nature of the game, is there any reason it wouldn't be? Because like all the villains are pretty much self-contained.
Right, and because it's a 2+ player game, as long as there's 2 villains in that expansion, it's automatically a standalone game.
Okay.
You don't need to
That's
have
kind of what I
any
would
of the
figure.
other ones. Yeah.
Great. So this is obviously, I think we talked about this a little bit in the show previously, Table Takes. This is obviously, like, if you're a board game fan and you're a Disney fan, then you absolutely should get this game, because it's great. But are there other games that are similar to it that you would recommend? Like, even if somebody has not seen any Disney movies, are there any games that you think are similar enough that people should check this out? I don't think so. This is pretty
kind of
distinct.
simplistic action selection games, which of course I had a cute little list written down beforehand, being a Hufflepuff, that I left in my car. But there are, I think if somebody were to like something like Cat Lady,
okay,
or it's not necessarily an action selection game, that one is a drafting game, but things that have long-term goals as well as short-term goals in them. Villainous is not a game where you want to make a decision that isn't going to impact your decision 2 turns in the future. Though it's not necessarily an incredibly difficult game. The complexity, it's, on a scale of 5, just under 2. I wouldn't put it heavier than that. But
I think what it is that some of the villains are way simpler than others.
Yes.
Because I understand that there's like some who are super complicated. I think Ursula might be one of the more complicated ones.
Ursula is one of the more complex ones. Prince John, very simple. Get 16 gold.
Yep.
Obviously, it's Prince John. He loves the money. And then, Maleficent casts 3 curses. But there are definitely the other ones that are going to be way more complex. So it gives you a lot to build on as well, especially if you're playing, smaller player count games, though it does play to I believe it's 4 or 5.
Okay. Well, what would you like to go to next?
Let's move on to something a little different in Arraial, which I may be pronouncing wrong.
Arraial?
Arraial. I have also heard it pronounced Arraial, but it is a Portuguese.
I don't think either of us know Portuguese, so.
Yes, my Portuguese is at a whopping 0 words known. It's absolutely none. But maybe this word, if it even is Portuguese, that I'm butchering. But it's awesome. This is basically Tetris, the game. It is not necessarily a newer game. It came out in 2018, but Pandasaurus did a reboxing of it, and it is now available to hobby stores where it wasn't before.
Okay.
So Arraial is one where...
So it's like a new version.
Kind of like a new version, yeah. Okay. It's like, it's a new skin on your favorite character. So this is a fun one because it is very much Tetris, and it's also action selection, which is why I kind of put it after this one, but it's much simpler. You have 3 action points, and you can spend them on 2 different types of actions during your turn. Everybody starts with a player board. If you're familiar with Tetris, you're familiar with what that board is going to look like with a little rotating wheel in the middle of all of your boards.
Sure.
On your turn, you can either rotate the wheel in the middle of the board that will have little tiles on them showing different little Tetris-like shapes to make it easier to access for your person.
Yep.
Or you can take one of those Tetris shapes and place it on your board. Tetris style, it's got to fall all the way to the bottom, and if there are any blocks underneath it, it cannot fall any further.
Okay.
You're trying to collect different color sets of blocks to attract tourists.
Okay.
Arraial,
so this is like a huge block party summer festival thing.
A Portuguese summer festival that you are trying to have the most beautiful neighborhood. So all these Tetris tiles that you're collecting have awesome artwork on them of different people dancing, balloons, decorations. So your little Tetris board is your neighborhood. You're trying to have a prettier neighborhood than me.
Okay.
Do you think you can compete with a Hufflepuff?
Absolutely not.
I thought so.
The only way that I can win this game is to admit that it is not worth playing and stalk off.
But it is so worth playing because it is so incredibly fun and very, very simple.
Well, this reminds me of Patchwork.
Yes, if you like Uwe Rosenberg, obviously he has created so many different games based off of that pattern building type of game. And this takes it that one step further. It adds that action selection. It doesn't necessarily give you any kind of player interaction where you're going to be able to mess with anybody else's board.
Other than it sounds like
you're hate drafting.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you can rotate to steal what they might need.
Yes, you can kind of rotate to steal what they might need, but it's you're more going to be long-term planning for yourself in this one. If you collect two shapes that are the same color and they land next to each other or on even ground, you add a tourist of that color and they come onto your board. If you are able to completely fill a line of your board, would that be horizontally?
Yep.
I know my directions. Horizontally, you get a little tourist that comes and hangs out on your banner. The objective is to gain more tourists, get people to come into your block because it's fun and interesting and inviting, and it ends up creating this beautiful little board in front of you that, I already have the Tetris music playing in my head.
It's interesting. It seems like there's a number of different Tetris games that have kind of come out. I think we've had a couple previous ones, like all kind of variations. There was like a roll and write one too.
Yes.
It's interesting to see Tetris, I guess, kind of make the tabletop jump.
Right.
Because it's not the kind of thing you would automatically associate with.
It's making a comeback, but on cardboard. Yeah.
Well, apparently it is the year of Tetris, I guess.
It is the Tetris year. It's the year of roll and write,
so
the year of Tetris.
so Patchwork, obviously we recommend. Can you think of other Tetris-y tile-laying games?
Baron Park. If you're a fan of Baron Park, you would love Arraial. If you are a fan of really any Uwe Rosenberg game, Last Garden, Indian Summer, any of those, you're going to be a huge fan of these.
And if you also are the kind of person who likes games where you don't have a lot of player interaction and other players can't mess with you.
Right.
Okay.
That's going to be a huge one for you.
It also has 1 to 4 players, so is there a solo mode for this?
There is a solo mode for this, and you will be playing an AI.
That's very Tetris-y.
Very, very Tetris-y, yes. So you would be playing as the other player. I believe that in the single player and 2-player variant, that AI does not necessarily have a board. They would just rotate the tiles, so it's not as competitive or easy if it's a one-player game.
Okay. Great. What's next?
Let's move on to Fire in the Library. No player interaction to very much player interaction.
Okay. So it's probably worth noting this is a neat little book case thing. Does it have a magnetic open, do you know?
I believe it's a little magnetic open. This one's cool. I love that it looks like a book because obviously it's about a fire in a library. So the objective of this game is to save all of, or as many books as you can. Be the player who has saved more books by the time a single wing of the library has burned down.
Okay.
This is a drafting game as well that has hand management as well as that. I wouldn't necessarily take that, but player interaction as well. Okay. So in this game, you're going to have a small section of cards that tell you how many points you would earn based off of how many books you were able to save in a single round.
Okay.
I would draft a single cube out of a black velvet bag, and depending on the color of the cube, it means different things. If it's red, it's fire. If it is a different color, then it is a book. I can then choose, after placing it on my small board that has 5 options for me, or 5 slots for it, whether I want to continue my turn, press my luck, big press your luck game, and continue to grab those cubes, knowing that if I draw 2 cubes of the same color, then my turn ends and I score no points. Or if I pull out 2 red cubes, the fire expands and cards get pulled from the table. We are closer to the end game, and I do not earn victory points.
Sure.
So very much that, do I keep going or do I stop here? If you are able to pull out 3 different books from the library, you get what are called tool cards. That's the hand management aspect. Things that will help you either collect more books during your turn. Maybe you accidentally set the wing on fire and you have to drop all of the books that you've saved. You can play a card called Slingshot. I'm going to literally slingshot one of my books and something else over to another player so it doesn't burn. You know, even though it is a competitive game, you are trying to have the most books. It has all of that fun little, just save the books, the library's on fire type of feel. So it has a real-time feel, even though you are taking your turns going through.
So what other press your luck games would you compare this to? Because I think most of the ones that people would think of would be like Zombie Dice. That might be kind of the first press your luck game that a lot of people play.
Right.
But this sounds like it's definitely a couple steps beyond that.
Yeah. If you're thinking of it, honestly, I would compare it, though it is a press your luck game, to a lot of trick-taking games, things like Fox in the Forest. If you enjoy that game, you would probably love Fire in the Library. Other ones I could think of, my goodness, why is this the thing that's stumping me today? If you like things like the escape room type of games, even though those are more cooperative, though there can be a single winner, that's going to be a good thing. Things that are really where you could end at any time, but
so a little unpredictable.
Yeah.
So like if you like chaos and unpredictability.
Yes.
And this is another one that seems to support 1 player.
Yep. Another one that supports 1 player. This one I don't believe has any variant. When you're doing solo design, you're just going through trying to save as many books as you can before that library inevitably
You're just trying to get a high score, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Because I remember this was also on Kickstarter, right?
Yes. This is
and
a
it was
game.
I think very popular, or at least I think a lot of designers were talking about it.
I had the hype.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
So now it's out in stores.
Yep,
and
came
people should
out
go.
this July, so it is, as of the last few weeks, now in stores.
Awesome. What's next?
Up next, I wanted to hit on the Ticket to Ride New York, another one that's not necessarily brand new, but was a Target exclusive for a long period of time. So this actually releases in hobby stores today.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Great.
And this is going to be another one that is, if you are familiar to Ticket to Ride, Days of Wonder. Days of Wonder is a company that doesn't necessarily put out a lot of games. They put out...
They're very focused.
They are the 1 game a year publisher, very focused. They have their base games that they know they're very good at, and they put out expansions that will just, again, that's what they do, expand upon that universe or upon that game, give you variants. Ticket to Ride New York, I would relate a lot to Ticket to Ride My First Journey, wherein it's going to be simple enough that you can actually get the whole family in. It says 8 and up. I would play it with even 6 and 7-year-olds. They're so much smarter than I was at 6 and 7.
Kids these days with their smartness and their games.
Their tablets and their AirPods. I don't know. They're so smart. But Ticket to Ride New York is going to be a good one where it has all those simple mechanics that we all know and love. 5 available cards open. They have different colors. You can either take your turn to collect those cards or to spend them and build railroads, which in this one is subways.
But okay, I was going to say, like, is it subways or is it cars? Because there's also cabs.
Ooh, little cabs. This one, since it came out today, I haven't been able to open it, and I have found very little information.
Yeah, so I think it actually, okay, what it might be is it looks like cabs are the wild cards. So it looks like
gives you that sneak.
It looks like you're building both elevated tracks and buses, and cabs.
Interesting. So you're going all over New York. Yeah, but this is one that it was super exciting that we're finally getting it in hobby stores. It was real sad when we found out we weren't going to be able to get it initially, so now that it's the big hobby store release, it is always fun to have a brand new Ticket to Ride on the shelf.
So, on that note, I mean, Ticket to Ride has kind of been a staple for a lot of things. It's an entry for a lot of people.
Yes.
The family game for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
If you already have Ticket to Ride, is there a place that this would fit on someone's shelf? If they're not like a Ticket to Ride connoisseur?
If you already own base Ticket to Ride, I would say it depends on your play group, whether or not you want to introduce this one into your library. If you have a lot of family coming over, that younger age group, or a lot of entry-level gamers who may look at the board of Ticket to Ride and say, you know, that's pretty big, that looks like a lot, I don't know if I want to invest in that yet, this would be a good intro to them as well. Or even if you don't have 45 minutes to an hour to be able to play, this one is going to be able to get you done in 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
So you're not going to be...
It's super fast. It's New York speed fast. Ticket to Ride.
Wow. They did it. They got us.
If you don't have Ticket to Ride, let's say I walk in and I don't have Ticket to Ride, I hear that it's big. What version is this a version you would recommend to me? Or does it again depend on my play group?
I think again it would depend on your play group. If you are looking for a first Ticket to Ride game and you know you have a play group that plays extensively or has longer time groups to play or maybe is an all-adult group, that would be a place for base Ticket to Ride, be able to get your expansions that work off of that and get your collection growing. If you're somebody that is playing with entry-level gamers, maybe you're an entry-level gamer yourself, or you know you're going to be playing with family, younger kids, things like that, or if you're a frequent traveler, this would be an awesome. I have
just because it's smaller,
Yeah, I have an 2-hour long layover in an airport, and this is smaller, has way less components, and I can knock it out and get people around me interested in how quick, easy, fun, and recognizable it is to be able to get people playing with you.
So this is basically simpler, younger, portable Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, it's accessible Ticket to Ride.
Great. I mean, Ticket to Ride has been accused of being inaccessible and arcane in the past. That's true. So it's nice that we finally have a way to get into this whole new dimension. All right, what's next?
Up next, I wanted to move on to Maskmen. This is another one of those, like I said, and as you said earlier, I'm bringing a lot of things that, though not brand new, are brand new to us. And Maskmen is an Oink game. I'm assuming you're familiar with Oink games. Oink,
but our viewers may not be.
Our viewers may not be. Oink games are the quintessential pocket game, travel game. They are very simple to get into. They last under 20 minutes each. They can play anything from 1 to 7 players. This one specifically is 2 to 6. And they don't have so many components that it's not worth taking somewhere. Maskmen is a really fun hand management game. It is very quick to play, and your objective is Uno style. Get rid of all of your cards to earn points. But it's themed like wrestlers.
Okay.
So it is a
Mexican masked wrestlers.
Mexican masked wrestlers, the luchadors. So in this one, you are going to be playing cards from your hand. You can play from 1 to 3 cards on your turn. they all have to be the same color fighter or wrestler. And you're basically saying, this is how strong that wrestler is. They are 1 to 3 cards strong.
Green is 3 strong.
Green is 3 strong. So at that point, we would put green at the top, whoop, because it's that strong. Now, I would be able to say, if I were looking at cards from my hand, you can just give me a bunch of cards. I can only play 1 to 3 cards, but I need to play cards that are either equal to or greater than your wrestler. So this round, I know I'm either going to tie or lose. If I'm just trying to get rid of all of the cards in my hand, I'm going to say pink is also 3 wrestlers strong. So pink and green would actually go next to each other to signify that they are the same levels of strength.
Okay.
You would choose from your pool of hands.
My hand seems bigger. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage here.
I think I'm going to win. You know? I think I'm going to win. But you would keep playing cards from your hand until you either pass or are able to discard. If you are the first player to discard all of your cards, you take a belt. Can you be like the bell? Do you need to ding, ding, ding?
Well, you said belt.
I know, but to signify the round. It's like,
ding, ding, ding.
Nailed it. Beautiful.
You gotta prep me on these things.
We should have had a meeting beforehand. So, at the end of the round, the person who is able to get rid of all of their cards first would grab the belt.
Yep.
And then it would go in descending order based off of strengths of the maskmen.
Okay.
So the strongest maskman, that person would be second, grab 1, and then it goes on from there.
So it's the person who played that? Okay. So how do you keep track of if you're putting them all in the middle and ranking them?
Your cards will be in front of you.
Okay.
So when you play these guys would be in front of you, so we would be able to see, oh, green and pink are both the strongest, but we have the equal amount. If you are playing more than 3 people, funny enough, the third place person still gets the -1 belt while everyone else gets nothing. Since the game is played over 4 rounds, it really gives you the opportunity to swing that number, and the person with the most amount of points represented from the winning title belts wins the game in the end.
Cool.
Very quick to go through if you are familiar with other Oink games like Troika, Startups. Trying to think of the ones that they're the most similar to. Those would be some that are right in there.
Well, I mean, Oink basically has this style of this really tiny box.
Yes.
Intriguing gameplay, but simple. And they're based in Japan, is that right?
They are, yes. Yes. They have a couple of different designers that do all of their games in Japan, and again, they release them there first, and then they slowly start getting their translations and coming out to us. So this one originally came out in 2014, and we are just now seeing it in summer of 2019.
It seems like they really do have kind of, well, all right, I'm going to figure out how to fit these in here. All their designs are really just neat and clever, and the graphic design is really slick and clean.
The designs are always beautiful. They use such bright colors. I love how thick their cardstock is. I actually collect Oink games. I have almost all of them at home at this point. It is not embarrassing. It is beautiful.
No one's making any judgments.
And I love that these are what I call my bar games. These are the ones where I know I can take it to a friend's house, a party, a bar, anywhere, sit down, put the game out in front of me, set it up, and I will wait less than 5 minutes before some other patron comes up to me and asks what I'm playing, what I'm doing, can I sit down and play with you? I've almost never sat down and set up an Oink game and not made a friend in doing so.
What's the tomato potato?
Tomato potato. It's called tomato, but they do have one as well where you're.
That is a ridiculous game.
I am so bad at tongue twisters. I love when games exploit my weaknesses.
I demoed that at PAX for like hours straight.
I remember I was there and I played with you.
Yep. It was a crazy game.
It is a fun one for sure. Yeah, they are great at those pocket games.
So that's really good for small, clever, simple, portable.
Travelers, quick games, filler games. If you like those hand management games where you have to think about the way that the cards are dealt, all of the cards are dealt in every round, and there are the exact same amount of the wrestler cards for each color. So you know, based off of how many cards you have, about how many cards of the same color other people have, especially as they start to play throughout those rounds. So it is really fun, really easy to get into, and yeah.
Great. So I think we only have one left, is that right?
We're down to one.
Okay.
I saved the best for last. That's not true. They're all amazing.
Well, I was going to say the cutest for last, but we also had Sushi Roll.
I'm also wearing a matching pin.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is?
This is the Tea Dragon Society by Renegade Games.
But this is also not new.
This is also not new. The reason that I brought this one out for the new releases is because Aquacorn Cove is a newer title coming out hopefully by end of year by the same people. This is based off of the book that was written and illustrated by Katie O'Neill. It's absolutely adorable.
Absolutely adorable art.
Great
it's a children's book, right?
Game. It is a children's book, yes. And a huge attractive thing about not only the books but featured in the game as well is they have all different types of characters. Characters of different abilities, race, gender, orientation, everything, all represented in the books and the games. So they've been widely received, well received everywhere. The Tea Dragon Society I love as a intro to deck builders for people.
Okay.
It has a great marketplace where you are drafting cards to be able to build your deck based off of what type of dragon you are. You play cards that have your currency, tea leaves, to be able to meet the cost, your cup of tea. Too cute. I lose it every time. And you're buying cards that are different actions, whether it would be the dragon grooming itself, entertaining itself, sleeping, eating, things that...
Very exciting, thrilling dragon things.
Very exciting, thrilling dragon.
I have a feeling there's no Burninate the People card on this one.
There is no Burninate the People card. The closest you're going to get are what are called mischief cards.
Okay.
Cards that are bad attitudes, basically. Someone's grumpy and bit the hand of the person who was grooming them. You might lose a card from what's called your hold or your area. Your hand is public, so they call it your hold, and it lays out on the table.
I feel like we can't let my wife get a hold of these cards. She should just keep throwing the grumpy card at me all the time.
I have already let your wife get a hold of these cards because she has seen my collection of Tea Dragon everything in my office. You can't get away from us.
Yeah, great.
But it's very cute. The objective of the game is actually to collect victory points in the form of cards that are happy memories that you share with your friends. It's played over the course of 4 seasons, so these memories have different colors that correspond to those seasons.
This is grotesquely heartwarming.
It hurts my feelings how beautiful it is and how wholesome it is and how this was a game
How Hufflepuff this is?
How Hufflepuff this is, truly, yes.
So
absolutely.
I feel we just to point out, we have this, and there's the Hufflepuff game, and there's the Slytherin game.
And like cute stuff. Everything's cute.
Yep. Okay. Well, you kept it on brand. We'll go with that.
Everything is on brand. I do what I must. But this one is really exciting because it is very accessible for people. And I wanted to bring it because I wanted to kind of create that hype for Aquacorn Cove, knowing that that one's going to be a full board game.
Do you know how similar it's going to be to this?
Completely different.
So not at all?
Not at all.
Other than probably super cute?
Other than super cute, it will definitely be 100%. It will be super cute. But Renegade Games, if you're familiar with the publisher, they have created so many different types of games. They did Clank, they did Tea Dragon Society, and even those two alone are, I mean, they're both deck builders, but they've also done, did they do Cat Lady? No.
No, Cat Lady was AEG.
Cat Lady was AEG, but they have a vastly different types of games, board games, card games, and Aquacorn Cove is going to be about conserving the environment, going around the different seas, being able to
because that was on Kickstarter, wasn't it?
It was, and they extended.
I think we covered it on the show.
Yeah, they extended when the release date is going to be for that one because they realized immediately it was too hard, and they wanted kids to be able to play it.
Sure.
So they are simplifying and streamlining some of the aspects of the game to be able to make it an 8-and-up game. When they were playing it like, this is great, this is super fun. You've got to be at least 12 to understand what's happening.
Well, I'm glad they're taking the time to get it to where they want it to be, the target they wanted it to be.
Oh yeah, then they're great with playtesting and development, and I can't wait to see what that game is finally going to look like when it comes out.
Chances are, I mean, like I know that Renegade's going to be at Gen Con, so if people are excited about the idea, they should stop by Renegade's event room or their booth and maybe ask about it.
Oh,
maybe
absolutely.
They'll have some details.
Especially because Oni Press puts out a convention-only white cover copy of the Tea Dragon Society box, so it would be the only opportunity that they have unless they're frequent con goers.
I'm pretty sure Oni has a booth at Gen Con too. Just saying.
Convention-only copy of
just
Tea Dragon Society. I know, it took me forever to get it.
All right, so those are the games that you brought.
these are my games.
Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything else that you want to say about yourself or about Mox Boarding House before we close?
I'm just super grateful to be able to have the opportunity to come on. If you are a local or in the Pacific Northwest area, definitely come and check out Mox Boarding House. There's no risk to it at all. You come in, the games are free, we don't flip our tables, and you're not required to buy anything to play a game. We just are nerds hanging out with nerds, so it would be awesome to meet and play some games with all of y'all as well.
And chat said that they, at least one person in chat really liked pretty much everything you brought.
Yay.
So, home run?
Yes, I'm glad.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, for sticking around between the break between Table Takes and the new release rundown. As we mentioned at the end of Table Takes, we have the Brothers Murph playing board games on Monday night. We have Gen Con News Tuesday afternoon, evening, depending on what time zone you're in. And we have Fireside with Peter Atkinson on Wednesday midday. And then we have Table Takes and new release rundown next Friday. And then pretty soon we'll be at Gen Con and streaming a whole lot of stuff from there. So we'll have details for that up before too long. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We will see you next week with another local store and another batch of games. Goodbye, everybody.